We live in an environment of heightened alertness with mass shootings, terror attacks, and seemingly random acts of violence. The question of safety has become a constant concern. Even in places once considered sanctuaries, homes, malls, schools, violence has made its presence felt. Our history reminds us that evil has always existed. Our modern day reality feels particularly unkind and fractured. This discussion explores two crucial aspects: the spiritual deficiency underlying these acts of violence and practical steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones in a world that often feels unpredictable. Welcome to 2025. This is not the world that I expected, and I'm quite sure this is not the world that you expected. The rising tide of violence reflects a deeper issue: a spiritual emptiness in society, loss of connection. People are increasingly isolated, disconnected from communities, family, and even themselves. This lack of connection fosters anger, resentment, and hopelessness. Decline of empathy. The ability to see others as human beings with intrinsic worth has diminished. Materialism and individualism. A culture that prioritizes self over collective well-being often leads to moral decay. Healing this requires a collective shift toward love, compassion, and spirituality. Churches, mosques, temples, and even secular communities must focus on fostering empathy, understanding, and care. Maintain situational awareness. Always be conscious of your surroundings. I could never say that enough. Look for exits, observe people's behavior, and trust your instincts. That gift of discernment, that gut feeling. But you can't be that way if you're always stuck on the phone. Phone use is okay, but don't let it pull your consciousness away from the world around you. Have an emergency plan. Discuss emergency plans with your family. Know where to meet if separated, and teach children how to respond to danger. Practice see something, say something. Report suspicious activity immediately. It could save lives. But there's still some of us who hold on to that, no snitch rule. I don't care. If it's going to kill somebody, if it's going to bring somebody into danger, you have to tell to prevent certain things. It's not about being a snitch. We live in a world where good is bad and bad is good. And we in our community look out for the guys who are doing bad. It's cool to do so until it's your family member who's a victim of something now, isn't it? You also have to secure your home. Invest in strong locks, really strong locks, security cameras and alarms. Teach your children to lock doors and windows even during the day. And it's a shame we have to live this way. Like we're in prison, but it's a different world now. And let me tell you, a few years that I worked in corrections, and it's not about corrections. I mean, growing up in New York City, you learn things. You learn how people think, people who like to do bad things. And like they say, jail is school and prison is school where criminals learn. I've learned. I'm not a criminal. And I'm telling you, most of us are not living as airtight as we should be living. And I see openings all the time. Some people better be glad that I don't think that way and I'm not a criminal, because it's so easy to get to you inside your house. I've been taught this by some really good criminals, but they're good because of what they know and pass it on, but they're bad because they actually do the very things that they talk about. It's crazy. Avoid complacency in public places. In crowded areas, stay near exits and remain vigilant. Monitor the atmosphere. Sudden tension or chaos could signal danger. Lots of times the chaos and the tension, let me tell you something, that could be a distractor, okay? To distract you from what's about to go down. Most often it is. And if it isn't, it's time to go. Educate your family. Teach your children to recognize safe adults in safe spaces. Role play scenarios so they know how to respond. Let me tell you something. That's very important to do the hands-on role playing with your children. You can tell them something, but unless they actually know how to handle the situation and there's tension around, they're a child. What do you expect? Adults usually drop the ball, but children, practice with them. Let them know. It will save their life and they'll be able to act smooth and get out of a situation. Serious. Keep emergency supplies on hand. Carry a small first aid kit, flashlight, and whistle. At home, have food, water, and other supplies ready for emergencies. That's 24/7, y'all. It's not when they start talking about some conspiracy theory or some impending crash. No, you should always be prepared that way. Doesn't mean you have to have a supermarket in your home, but have a whole lot more than what you normally consume. And I tell you, dry fruit, nuts, oats, different things like that, you keep them away and stored, you'll never go hungry. Be careful what it is that you choose to store up, because some things go fast and some things don't bring proper nutrition. You need to be able to feed yourself. You need to be able to protect yourself. Your home is your fort. Fort Knox. That's what your home should be for you on all levels, on a mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional level. And protection, if you know what I mean. Practice self-defense. Take a self-defense class or learn basic techniques to protect yourself in dangerous situations. That also goes for protection with weapons. You know, when you're young, and I remember when I was much, much younger, I felt like Superman. But your flesh can cut easy, can shoot easy, and we tend to forget that. So be able to protect yourself with some weaponry too. Take some classes on how to shoot the weapon properly and have a firearm. There's nothing wrong with that. What would happen now if you encounter someone near or in your home in the middle of the night and they have a firearm? What are you gonna do? You gotta give it up, whatever they want. Don't put yourself in that position. See? Even if you don't want to shoot somebody, I'm not saying that. Hit them in the kneecap. They don't have a weapon. If they have a weapon, take them out. You got to be able to take them out. We're not talking about taking them out to dinner. It's your life or theirs. You have to have that mentality and you have to be able to do it. And if not, you better think on how to make a weapon out of something that's not a weapon. Anything can be a weapon. The very wall that's behind you is a weapon if you smash somebody's head into it. A knife, a screwdriver, a fork, you can drive it into somebody's eye. Let me tell you something. That's not vicious. You have the right to defend your life. And if somebody is got the nerve to come into your home, don't you think they're ready to protect themselves? And you have family there too. And if you don't, you want to protect yourself. I want to do a whole show on that because that is very important. But it's not just having a firearm or having a weapon, but to be able to be vicious enough from within to do what you need to do to survive. Some of us are too nice, or some of us find out that we're not as rugged as we thought we were. I think vicious thoughts every day, and thinking those thoughts actually repels people from doing things. I've been in situations where it's like, these guys are going to do something. So I'm looking around, seeing what I can use as a weapon as I walk through whatever the situation was. And they seem to pick up on that because I'm not sitting here as a victim and panicking. I'm thinking to survive and what I can do to walk away from this situation alive. You have to do that. Limit risky behaviors. Avoid posting real-time updates on social media that reveal your location or routines. This minimizes the risk of being targeted. I spoke about this the other day. So many of us were so paranoid about posting things on social media. And guess what? Fast forward 20 years. This is 2025. Remember back in 2005 when YouTube and Facebook first came out? Before that, it was MySpace. Well, guess what? That same person who said, oh, no, I'm not putting my business out there. Look, you're doing live streams now in live time, showing people where you are. Don't you think other people look at those things and watch those things? Oh, you plan on going on a vacation for the next month and you won't be home. Oh, okay. So I'm going to drive past your house. I'm not saying me. These are people I've talked to when they're locked up. I'm going to drive past your house every day, park down the block and see if there's any movement. Watch the newspapers pile up. See what lights come on. If lights do come on, let's see if it's on a timer. Because people do that. You have to stagger it the times that your lights come on. If it comes on the same time every day, that's not going to stop a person from breaking in your house because they know that it's set to a timer. You see what I mean? You got to be careful. We can be on the phone at the Walmart checkout line, telling our business what we're going to do. And there's somebody behind us who's not really looking to shop, but they're hanging around you while you talk in the supermarket and push that cart, talking to the phone, and they're gathering up intel on you to know how to strike your home. Is that something? And last but not least, these are tense times. You have to prioritize your mental health. Encourage open dialogue about stress and anxiety. A healthy mind fosters clarity and better decision-making during crisis. Crazy. While it's easy to succumb to fear, we must instead, I'm getting tired, Joe. You know what time it is over here? 4:01. I was determined to get these few words out because this is over. It's a short one, right? We must instead choose empowerment. By fostering spiritual wellness and taking proactive measures, we can navigate in this high alert world with strength and resilience. And that's the only way to do it. We have to be proactive now. We watch movies and we get titillated by dangerous situations and not realize we can be in those situations. And real life is not a movie. We bleed, we cut, we get concussions, we get knocked out, we get shot, we get stabbed. This is real. We watch the news at night and tucked away nice and cozy on our couch, seeing the bad things that happen, just thinking it can't happen to us. Now, I'm not saying walk around paranoid. I'm not saying walk around and paranoid thinking everybody's going to look to do something to you. But just remember that life can change quite quickly. Look at the guy in New Orleans who drove down the street and ran over all of those people. When they woke up that morning, they didn't know they were going to die that night. They didn't know they were going to die. That little girl, they got crushed flat like a pancake. That's terrible. Imagine the family of that little girl to see their child like that, or grandchild, niece or nephew. You got to be proactive and be able to face things, because you're going to be the superhero that saves you or your family. The cops are not going to do it because they're not going to get there in time. You have to be able to act quick and know what it is you're doing. I faced many situations and sometimes I would use my brain. I've told this story before. I'm going to say it again before I go. I was up in the Bronx, New York. This had to be 1984. And I was in the Bronx, and back then I was a single guy, and I got invited over to a young lady's place. And it was very late at night. So it's obvious that we were going to do calisthenics and aerobics in her bedroom, to say it decent. If it goes over your head and you're asking why I'm exercising, well, it just has to go over your head. Well, anyway, I realized that I had to be back home somewhat early in the morning because I had an appointment with somebody who was going to come and do some work in the house. Well, I had to tell my friend, listen, I got to get up out of here and go. She was angry. She wanted me to stay, but I had to go. So here I am on, I think it was a number 6 train, late at night, 3:30 in the morning. A blizzard had just happened, and it was just icy, cold. More snow was coming down, and already had a layer of snow there. And it was just awful. Now, I was dressed professionally. That's the kind of job that I had. I worked at Bijan Paxad's boutique on 5th Avenue and 55th Street, 2 blocks down from Trump Tower. This is way back in the day. So I went straight up there thinking I was going to spend the night. But now here I am with my nice overcoat and suit and everything. And I looked like I had money on me, and I did. I had cash on me. I don't know why I was carrying about $3,000 worth of cash on me, This is back in 1984, and that was a lot more than what $3,000 US would be now. But I had it on me, and there was a certain element to my mentality where I did feel invincible. I didn't think I was Superman, but I was lifting weights, I was competing in bodybuilding, I was eating good food, and I was strong. But I know strong can't beat a bullet or a knife. So I'm sitting down on the subway train, 3:30 in the morning, and it's running local as it does in New York City. Most trains at night, they run local, which means those little itsy bitsy stops between the major stops, you have to take your time and go through those stops. Terrible. So I said, okay, this is going to take forever to get home. I'll probably get home at daybreak and sleep for 2 hours and wake up and deal with these contractors. So I'm on the train, and these short little guys got on, 4 of them. And they had the bandanas, and I think they were Latino for sure. And I'm quite sure they were Puerto Rican, because that was a Puerto Rican neighborhood that we were going through on the train. You know, now there's good and bad in every race, but I just think that's what it was. So they were very short, kind of stocky, but short. And nobody else was on that car on the subway train, right? So one got in front of one door, one got in front of the door next to me, because I was sitting. It was one of those trains that the seats are up against the glass in the wall. There were no inside seats. It was one of those older model trains. Everybody who sits down is looking at each other. So I'm sitting there by myself. 4 of these guys get on, they block up the doors that are near me. They're standing there, they're staring at me. 3:30 in the morning, freezing cold. They're dressed kind of shabby. They had the jeans on, they had the gang little handkerchiefs on, and you know, the tattoos. And I was shocked to see, and even back then, they had some guys that had tattoos on their face, and 2 of them did. So I knew this was some serious business. I also knew, as small as they were, I'm not Superman. I can't beat four grown men, but I would have gave it a run for the money until one pulled out a switchblade, looking at me dead in the eye with a smirk on his face, and he picked his teeth with it. A long switchblade. Now, what do you think? That was his favorite toothpick? No, that was a way of intimidating me and letting me know something's about to go down on what they have. I said, okay, they're playing with me. They want to see what I'm made of. I was scared. Well, I was adrenalized, not scared like, oh, please. Oh. No, it wasn't like that. I was adrenalized, but there was an element of fear that jump-started me to think on what to do. I looked down at the other door where the other one was standing. He did the same thing. The one next to me did the same thing. And at the other door, that one did. And they looked at each other and started laughing. So it was just a matter of time before they stepped forward to do something, because I was a target. I was well-dressed, groomed, still smelling good, feeling good after the exercise that I just finished indulging in. And I said, think, Lance, think, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Try to intimidate these guys? They got knives. There's 4 knives. I can't beat 4 knives. I said, okay, let's take a gamble. And this is what you do when you think. I reached into my pocket, grabbed a hold of every single bit of the $3,000 that I had in my pocket. Now it was around $3,000. It could have been a little more, a little less, but it was about a big, trust me. I pulled it out. I pulled it out in front of them. And I looked each one dead in the eye. They couldn't believe it. They're like, what is this guy doing? I pulled out this wad of money and I started counting it with a smirk on my face. And as I counted, I looked at it. I looked at them. And after I finished counting it, I had it, balled up, and I kissed it and held it up to the sky and laughed and put it back in my pocket. And I leaned back in that subway seat, as cold as it was. The train was moving and stopping to different stops. And I leaned back and I crossed my arms, and I actually leaned back in the seat and pushed my feet back like I was in a recliner, looking at them, looking at their feet, looking up at their face, looking at them like they're a piece of dirt. Like, what you gonna do? Because that's what I was thinking. And I said it with my mouth, whether they heard it, and I said, I thought so. And I leaned back. And I just looked straight ahead. Now it was on them. They had to figure out if I had a gun or not, because I know that's what they were thinking. But how could I make them think that I had a gun over their knives if I didn't have a gun? My confidence had to show that. Even though it was paper thin, I'm not going to lie. Because what can I do after this? Now they really see a lot of money on me. It's their decision. So the guy that first got on and pulled out the switchblade, I knew he was the leader. He looked at the other guys and he motioned for them. Let's get off at the next stop. They turned around and they all walked off. And I sunk in my chair. See, sometimes it's not always too cool to try to use force when you may not win or you may incur an injury. Sometimes you've got to use your brains, but for you to do that, you have to rehearse certain scenarios. Now, there's no way I could have rehearsed that scenario. I never knew I would be in a situation like that. But what if I acted foolishly? What if I acted like I had no sense? Then I'd be a goner. Would have been stabbed up, money taken. Who knows who would have found me, right? So think, y'all, think. And when things jump off, think logically. The only way you're going to be able to think good is when you have good nutrition in your body, good rest, sound mind, and a fit body. If you're out of shape, try to get a little bit more in shape. It doesn't mean you have to be a body beautiful or an Olympic track or a swimmer. Get just a little more endurance. Work on yourself, because your body and your mind is a sword. It's a weapon. You can't deny that. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna start this week with doing some good shows on a regular basis. We have Neil Frazier tonight, which for those on the East Coast, it's still Sunday. For me, 4:10 in the morning in West Africa, it's Monday morning, and I am so hyped. I couldn't sleep. This is the time I'm usually up for about an hour, but my body kicks in sometimes. Sometimes I forget the age that I am. And sometimes you got to warm the engine up a little more. Anyway, this is Lancescurv signing out. And I just want to let you know, I love you all. And it's fabulous. And yes, we've completed our new studio, and I'll be showing more over 2 days. We're up back the yellow stripes, the hazard stripes, as we did in Orlando, Florida. And this one here is way better, more spacious. We're gonna have a lot of good times here. So anyway, much love to you all. Lancescurv out. Take care, like, share, and subscribe. I'm gonna get some sleep. I've been working so hard today. All right. Much love to you all. Take care.
Hello, this is Martha. Actually, today I got to meet my friend Lance. Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, it's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just human, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to Lancescurv. And then Every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.